In this lecture, we're going to look at some vocabulary connected to scientific processes. And here are your 7 words: accelerate, activate, condense, conduct, contaminate, contract, and deplete. So your first word is accelerate. Accelerate. Notice the pronunciation of accelerate. 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 If something accelerates, it gets faster and faster. Note, as well as the double C, you've got one L in the word accelerate. So, for example, growth will accelerate to 3% next year. The government will accelerate its privatization program. CCTV showed the car accelerating to 200 kilometers per hour, 200 kph. We often accelerate to something or by. Accelerate development, accelerate the process. An accelerate is a verb, so you can have accelerate, accelerating, accelerated. And the noun is acceleration, acceleration. The opposite of accelerate is decelerate. Decelerate, not de-accelerate, but decelerate. And here are some synonyms for accelerate. Step up, advance, hasten, increase, quicken and stimulate. Your next word is activate. Activate. If something is activated, then it starts, or rather causes something to start. It's often used with machinery, equipment and scientific processes. And you can see at the start of the word activate is act. Okay. If put it another way, an action starts and you can see the word act at the start. So, for example, security cameras can be activated by movement. So they can be started by movement. I have a voice-activated computer. Heat activates enzymes. You can activate something by. You can activate a system, an alarm. You can also activate things automatically. Activate automatically. Now it's a verb, so you can have activates, activating, activated. Activation is the noun, and the opposite of activate is deactivate. And again, it's a verb, so you can have the same endings for that as well, for deactivate, deactivation. And some synonyms: trigger, stimulate, initiate, and start. Your next word is condense. Condense. When a gas or a water vapour is condensed, it becomes a liquid. So here is a pan of meatballs. Now, some of the water in the pan has condensed on the bottom of the lid. It's turned back into water. So water vapour condenses to form clouds. As air rises, it becomes cooler and the moisture condenses. So you can condense into, condense out of. So condense is a verb, so you can have condenses, condensing, condensed. And the noun for condense changes the spelling a little bit. Condensation. Condensation. So you need to add an A instead of the E. So notice this shift in stress from condense to condensation. Our next word is conduct. Conduct. Now this word has lots of different meanings. So for example, a conductor in an orchestra conducts the orchestra. A researcher carries out or conducts research. You can also have a code of conduct, which is like a set of rules. There you're using the noun. But in science, what we're going to look at is some materials let heat and electricity go through it. So those materials conduct heat and electricity. So for example, here are some electrical pylons or towers and the electrical cables. And the cables are conducting electricity. So note the stress on the verb as well. Conduct, conduct. Stress on the second syllable. We say conduct when we're using the noun. And the word conduct is all about behaviour, as in a code of conduct or criminal conduct. But when we use the verb, which is what I'm going to look at here, stress the second syllable, conduct. So, water conducts heat faster than air. The molecule did not conduct electricity. So there you've got heat and electricity. This third example relates to the use of conduct as carrying out something. So the scientist is conducting research into a cure for cancer. Some common collocations: conduct heat, conduct electricity, conduct business. This is again the carry out meaning. And conduct research. Conducting, these are the different forms. Conducted. Conduction is the noun, but you can also have the noun conductivity. Conductivity. So the conductivity of metal is very high. Metal conducts electricity very well and heat very well. Got good conductivity. The first three words, the first three synonyms here, relate to conducting heat and electricity, a kind of transport sense of the word. So carry, transport and send. These next three relate to carrying out, a sense of conduct as in carrying out, carry out, handle and administer. Here's the next word, contaminate. Contaminate. If something is contaminated, it becomes dirty or harmful or even dangerous, like this water here. This water is contaminated, maybe by chemicals from a factory. Things can be contaminated by oil, dirt, chemicals, even radiation. So a chemical spill contaminated the river. The river was contaminated by a chemical spill. So here we're using the active in the first sentence and the passive in the second sentence. This next sentence uses the verb as an adjective, so thousands of people fell ill because of contaminated water. So contaminated there is an adjective. So we often use contaminate with water, contaminated water, contaminate the sea, contaminated by chemicals, contaminated with chemicals. You can use both there. Here are the different forms: contaminating, contaminated, and the noun contamination, contamination. Some synonyms for contaminate: pollute, harm, poison, infect. Here's the next word, contract. Contract. Again, contract can have lots of different meanings. It can be a noun, which you would say contract, which is a legal document, or it can be a verb, contract, contract, which is what I'm going to look at here as I'm looking at scientific processes. Now, when something contracts, it becomes smaller or thinner or shorter. When metal gets hot, it expands, but when it cools, it contracts, which is a big problem for metal railway tracks which expand when it gets hot and contract when they get cool. Blood is expelled from the heart, pushed out of the heart when it contracts. Metal contracts when it cools. And here's a more general use of the word. The Greek economy contracted by 2% last year. So it basically means things get smaller. Expand and contract goes together. Often muscles contract. Things can contract rhythmically or rapidly. And the different forms of the word: contracts, contracting, contracted. And contraction is the process. It's a noun. So some synonyms for contract: get smaller, narrow, decrease, decline, shrink. So shrink means something that gets smaller. The final word is deplete. Deplete. Deplete means you use something up. It literally means you empty out something. So you use up, you deplete a store of something. And deplete means you reduce the amount in this store. So you can deplete your store of food. So it suggests that you use something up that you already have. So for example, some chemicals deplete the ozone layer. Things like stress, illness and environmental pollution deplete your energy levels. The Russian central bank's reserves were rapidly depleted during the recent currency crisis. So their reserves of money, of dollars, were depleted. So you deplete resources, you deplete reserves and funds, and you increasingly, or with the environment these days, you deplete the ozone layer too. So depletes is one of the forms: depleting, depleted, and depletion is the noun. So here are some synonyms for deplete: consume and empty, use up, diminish, reduce, and drain. So there are your 7 words for scientific processes: accelerate, activate, condense, conduct, contaminate, contract, and deplete.